You're listening to the Major Pod Network, the only place where your favorite toy store, card shop, arcade, theme park, and arena are all on the same block. Scratch that major itch.
This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast presented by the Major Pod Network. I am Mr. Anything is Feasible, George Feis.
And I'm the man they call Johnny Clash. And today we are covering the video game history of the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom, Hawk, and Animal. And we're also discussing our favorite versions of the Road Warriors in video games and reveal which history of episode we are covering next.
And don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review for this podcast on both Apple Podcast and Spotify. Follow us on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod, and check out all of the exclusive content we are creating on our Patreon, patreon.com/GameMarksPod. Johnny Clash.
What's up? I was just saying, what's up, George? How you doing? We have been waiting to do this episode for a while. It's finally here, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And
we've covered a lot of the appearances of
all of them,
Animal and Hawk. So I'm very excited for this.
But here's the thing: if you're listening to this, I suggest you could listen to it too. But it is also going to be available on YouTube, the full deep dive where you're going to get images of each Road Warrior version we are talking about, and it's going to be a lot more interesting. So maybe after our little follow-up here, you could head on over to the YouTube machine and you could watch it. Or do both, whatever floats your boat.
While you're there, maybe you want to hit the like button on the video, maybe hit a subscribe button, ring that bell. It helps us out a ton. We've got some work to do before we get that plaque, but I want that plaque, so every little bit helps.
I put up episode 1 of the showcase mode from WWE 2K22 this week, and you know the struggle I went through for this episode.
It makes me very scared to do mine, but maybe while you're doing showcase, I'll start the My Rise mode.
Yeah, maybe do that, but I just had a lot of Adobe Premiere issues, and I had a lot of YouTube issues. YouTube's been on the fritz lately. I don't know what's up with that. It's been freezing. It's been canceling uploads. It's been a little weird. I know you mentioned you had some issues too, so it's not just me. But it's up there.
It's just a difficult egg, nut, whatever analogy you wanted to use. It's a difficult nut to crack.
Yeah, sure. But all right, let's follow up from last week. WWE Day of Reckoning 2, one of my favorite series. I know we both gave it the double play it forever, and I have no regrets. What about you?
No, my only regret is that I gave the first one a future
that is
endeavor.
Still just mind blowing to me.
Which
but
there's
whatever.
the little asterisk next to it because when I did it on Future Endeavored, the Patreon show, I went back on it. So
all right, whatever. But also let's talk about FWF3. George, you won't be there.
I'm missing this one. This is a stacked card.
I found a replacement partner. You see, last Create a Pro show, I couldn't take that Create a Pro championship from Eric James. I couldn't get my third title reign. So I said, you know what? Take your little boy, your little Jack Tomlinson, bring your tag partner over to FWF. I found a partner because, I like the gabagool. And I found a full-blooded Italian, little Guido Nunzio, who's going to get my revenge on Larger Than Life.
You're really leaning into this whole ECW thing.
It's been my gimmick for years, I guess.
I know.
Caned by Just Incredible, Sandman.
Maybe
Matt Cardona, ECW original.
Maybe we need a John's Hardcore shirt or something.
Maybe. We could put it together. But we also got a big WWE 2K22 update this week. It might be the largest in the game franchise's history. We got NXT 2.0 Arena. There are many, many changes that they made to the game to make it more fluid, make some I think there was some stuff with some cage matches, some ladder matches to make those.
They fixed some hair animations as well.
Yeah. It just makes me think, like, they are rolling out these patches like crazy. They're making this game so stable. Yeah. They did not care at 2K with 2K20 at all. Because the first patch came a month later.
It wasn't the right engine. It wasn't like a easy engine to work with.
That's crazy.
To rebuild it from the ground up. But listen, they put in the NXT 2.0 arena, which was not an originally an arena in the game, which
it looks pretty cool.
Gives me hope that maybe we'll get updated models. Maybe, maybe some characters come back with different gimmicks, but they're models in the game. Maybe they just offer an alternative tire or something like that.
Yeah, so
possibilities are endless, man.
People were saying how the DLC is already in the game, and that's why like it was all announced at once. Like Ronda's coming eventually. This new one's coming out on the 26th with Casey Catanzaro, Omos, Rikishi, Umaga, Yokozuna. But this makes me think that like NXT 2.0 is fairly new. Like they could just add stuff too. Like why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Why not have an exclusive DLC and Cody comes in eventually?
I think that would be great. Or
Cody and Dusty.
Ooh.
We can't have the other guy, but
wait a second. What if they did? What if there was like an extra pack that they announced, and it was something like the Generations pack or the Legacy pack, and it was like you got Cody and Dusty, and maybe you get like
Ted
Cowboy
and
Bob
Ted.
and Randy, and you get
Ted DiBiase.
Yeah, both DiBiase's.
That'd be cool. Yeah, a little legacy pack.
Yeah.
We also got update to my GM mode where they started adding more titles, like the tag titles, the women's tag team titles, because that was a big flaw in the beginning. But I kind of like how they rolled the game out working, and now they're adding more stuff to it. So
it's exactly what we had said that we hoped that they were going to do. Give us a good base game and just add content as it goes. You don't have to, if you stretch out a game where you make a release every other year, it gives you time to kind of lengthen the lifespan of the game where you can do things like this. You can update and add new titles and new content both in DLC form and just like, hey, in this next iteration of a quality of life update, we added this new arena. Like,
yeah, it's cool.
Maybe in a future update, we'll get WrestleMania that just passed in an arena.
That would be sick. You're also getting more stabilized online lobbies and entrances, which I know has been a big flaw of this game. But overall,
we've talked a lot about that in our Discord.
Yeah, we are very happy with this game. I asked a question to social media this week where I said, if you had only one game to play for the next year, what would you play? And we got some pretty cool responses. But people were saying this game.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool. It's a big upgrade from last year.
I think that this game has. I don't want to use just like the generic term, but I will for the lack of me trying to come up with another analogy. It's got a good pair of legs under it. Like this can go the distance. This can be a game that we can like. The foundation for this game is strong enough that you could, in theory, I would even go as far as maybe even to compare this to 19. Where it's like that kind of game where people are just like, the gameplay is solid, the creative suite is good. There were bugs and issues at the initial launch with like the creative suite and people having issues with the image storage, but like all that stuff seems to be sorted out. I
haven't tried uploading my image again. I gotta try that.
Try it. Well, I think also in the last big update, they did something with the sizing of the portraits. So you have to change.
In universe mode, I was huge.
Yeah. I uploaded mine. I used a cutout of from the FWF promo shots that we did, and I put us in a tag match, and we look like we are Andre the Giant.
Yes.
To whoever I put us up against. I was like, I gotta fix these. We're not that big.
All right. I mean, this game is going to be sustainable. I'm having fun. If you read some Reddit and some stuff online, some Twitter, people are comparing this to like SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 and being one of the greatest. So if you are on the fence, I know a lot of you are playing it, but if you're on the fence, check it out. It's going to be on sale, I'm sure, at some point as well. But George, you got your pads with your spikes. You got your face paint.
They're just off camera. They're right.
Okay, yeah, me
right
too.
Here.
Mine are in that big pile of stuff I'm selling behind me.
I think I see a spike poking out behind one of the TNA boxes.
But it's time for the deep dive. So, George, you see this light behind me, this beautiful game over light that I point to every single episode when we do our little sign-off. I'm like Ronda Rousey pointing to the WrestleMania sign.
Yep.
So I got this from Zavvi, one of our favorite distributors, dealers of Batman, Lego, Disney, Funko, wrestling. They have new Moon Knight stuff, Power Rangers, Transformers, us.zavvi.com. And do you know what we have here, George? We have a 10% discount code, Game Marks Podcast at checkout. Listen, they have absolutely everything. Have you checked it out?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have a ever-growing Funko collection, and in that Funko collection, I know that I could go to Zavvi and not only use the sweet discount code that we have now, but just know that, like, everything is going to be shipped the right way. I mean, you've heard it on this podcast, on other podcasts. You buy something from Walmart, you buy something from Target, they really don't take care when they ship stuff to you. At least you know when you order from Zavvi that the things are going to be packaged the right way. The thing that I have in my cart on my wish list that I was thinking about picking up for myself is they've got these classic NES cartridges that are actually coasters.
Oh, that's cool. I was actually thinking about buying the Harry Potter shoes, but we're very different here.
Yeah, I also feel like I got to get that Game Over light too. I feel like it's a saying on the podcast, and even though that you're the one that always says it, I feel like it's still a part of the show, and I got to have it too.
Well, if anyone else wants it, us.zavvi.com. That's ZAVVI. Use the code GameMarksPodcast at checkout.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Game Marks Podcast YouTube channel. It is now time for us to do the deep dive of the video game history of the Road Warriors, Animal, and Hawk. I am very excited. This has been a long time coming. John, where are we starting off with this?
All right, we are starting with WCW World Championship Wrestling for the NES, which came out December 9th, 1989. I was only 1 year old. I don't know about you. You were probably like 13, maybe.
I was 3.
This game features the Road Warriors on the cover. And one thing we always compare on this podcast, we say, what does the cover look like? Does it look like a wrestling game? Would you walk past it in a store and pick it up knowing it's a wrestling game? Not only does it say wrestling across the top, but it's got Hawk and Animal looking insane on the cover. That classic picture of them. Oh, their classic stepbrothers pose. And it's one of my favorite covers of a video game ever. And when you get...
We should recreate this and make it an 8x10.
I think we should, with the pads and everything.
Okay, I was going to say in the jackets, but the pads work too.
Oh, the jackets work too. Okay, we can do that. Oh, that's
just add spikes to the jacket.
That's a good idea. We should do that. In the game itself, I think they look pretty good, Hawk and Animal. You could tell the face paint, the beards, and whatnot, but let's be honest, it's an NES game. It's not perfect. Yeah. They're just wearing generic tights. They both look the same, other than a little skin difference between them, and
a little bit more of a tan on Hawk.
Yeah, and you can actually tell which one's which with the hair and the face paint. So I think that's pretty cool. Pretty cool start to their video game career, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, and then a massive jump in quality.
Massive jump in not only quality, but in feature. Because you're going to see as we go on how heavily the Road Warriors are featured in all of these games. They might be... I might say they're the greatest tag team that have ever walked this earth.
Yeah, I mean, they are... If you want to have the conversation about the greatest tag team, like, if they're not one of, if not the first tag team that comes to mind, I question the list.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's a good handful of those evergreen tag teams that just will stand the test of time and people will talk about forever. But for sure... Legion of Doom, Road Warriors are on that list.
Right, and you're going to see also on this list how the last one was WCW. We are now jumping to WWF WrestleFest in 1991 for the arcade only.
This is going to be tough to beat, in my opinion.
It's going to be tough to beat, and they're also tough to beat in the game because they are heavily featured as the last tag team that you face at the end of Saturday Night Main Event mode, and they're not actually selectable as wrestlers. But there are cheats that exist where if you're playing the ROM per se, you can jump in, and then you could have someone also on the arcade machine jump in, when you insert the coin, if you're playing against the Road Warriors, and they could actually take control of the Road Warriors, and if they win, they could keep going as well. They also have twice as much energy and health as any other wrestler in the game, which is why I said they're pretty hard to beat. So that's crazy.
Oh, man. Well, so, okay, here, I want to get this out of the way now because I wanted to bring this up now because I feel like it's going to be something that we have to talk about as we move through. When you think, so throughout the years, we won't call into effect the different face paints that they had between Legion of Doom and Road Warriors, but when you think of Animal's face paint, what are the colors that come to mind?
Like white, red, black, and like a little bit of green.
Okay, so predominantly, I always associate it's the red, the black, the white.
Yeah.
But you will see, you could see it in action figures, even if you just Google Legion of Doom wrestling and you pull up the images. For the most part, aside from the difference between, like I said, the Road Warriors and the Legion of Doom, Hawk's face paint is almost always the same.
Yeah.
Animals, though, you get touches, like John said, touches of green, some yellow, some or different shades of green. There's one picture that comes up where most of his face is predominantly just the white paint. So if you're watching along, as we go through all these games, you're going to notice that Hawk's face paint kind of stays the same, but Animal's face paint, depending on what iteration of Animal's face paint they're portraying here, it could look vastly different than the game before or several generations after.
And we're going to talk about that because they are several generations after. We're going to get to a recent release at the end of this, Retromania, and I cannot wait to talk about the comparison between the two.
I just wanted to get that out of the way. And I guess the same could be said about the shoulder pads as well. They had so many different versions throughout the years. Obviously, the most iconic is just the all red with the black spikes, but there are several different versions. But between the spikes and Animal's face paint, I just wanted to get that out of the way because if you're watching along, you may be like, well, how come Animal's face is suddenly green when like the last three versions were red?
Yeah, well, I thought it was pretty cool. We're not covering Heidenreich in the Road Warriors in this episode. No. Also,
nor Sonny.
No. But okay. Next game might be one of the best looking renditions of the Road Warriors in a video game in this era in general.
Yeah.
Because WWF Super WrestleMania, now they're only available in the Super Nintendo version, but this game came out in March of 1992. And I think this is the most realistic looking we're going to get. We know the type from Raw, from Royal Rumble, from this game. It keeps going on and on and on.
Challenge.
And they look so good. They're featured in here with the Natural Disaster, so you could have a nice little tag team match. I've said it many times on this podcast. This is the first wrestling game I have ever played in my life. So it holds a special place in my heart, and now you're getting the Road Warriors in there as well. And this is
episode 87 of the podcast.
And this is pretty much the match that me and my cousins used to have: the Road Warriors versus the Natural Disasters, way before I even knew what wrestling really was. So pretty cool. And when you go and look at the screenshots of them, there's no question who they are.
Literally, I'm going to use this word a lot, especially for this generation, like before we start getting into like the polygon style of graphics.
Oh, they're coming.
Pixel perfect.
Absolutely, yeah.
Every single detail. Keep in mind, this is, we jumped from 89, now we're in 92. I mean, every single detail, down to the design of the trunks, the intricate little hook parts of the face paint, like every single detail is picture perfect, and it's incredible.
Yeah, and you got a little Danny Davis with his little bow tie behind them, reffing the match. But I think if I have to pick one from this generation before we get into, like you said, the polygons, this is it. Because next up, European Rampage Tour for the Commodore, the Amiga, the Atari, 1992 as well. We covered this game somewhat recently.
Yep.
It's a weird game. The final match, you're set to a limited roster here, and you kind of go through a tag team mode where you're going through different wrestlers in different stages of the world. And the final match in the championship is against the Legion of Doom in Madison Square Garden. It says Madison Square Garden big. They're not as detailed as the previous game. They're a little more cartoonish, a little...
That's a little bit more of the limitations of the console itself.
Yeah.
So, but correct me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
Wow, damn, that was quick. In this era of video games, this is one of the first-ish appearances of actually, like, MSG in a game.
Possibly, yeah.
Where, like, you can see very clearly, I'm pretty sure it's in the screenshot that you're going to see on screen, that it just says Madison Square Garden. And if this isn't the first, it's definitely early, at least in the world of wrestling games.
Yeah, I just question that because a lot of the menu screens of the previous games in WWF were giant crowd shots of an arena. But yeah, I think you're right. This is probably the first one that actually says it.
Yeah, or like you'll be like, you're wrestling in the New York arena. And it's like, it's like definitely implied that it's MSG, but I think this is the first one that actually, or one of the first that actually, like, you can see the words Madison Square Garden.
Right. And now when you get to the Commodore version, it's only singles matches, not tags. So you're only getting Animal, not Hawk.
And we've played other games in which I not sure if we'll be covering because we're doing both of them. But we have played games in the past where they're Japanese release games, and that's where you predominantly only get, like,
those are going to be a gray area in this episode.
We'll come up. I think there's some coming up later on, but yeah, they're very similarly how you only get Animal in this version. There's some other games where you only get Hawk. Now
there's a big gap here. Because now in 1997, for the N64, you are getting Virtual Pro Wrestling 64, one of the games that started it all. This came out on December 19th, and they are under Dead or Alive Wrestling, which is Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling. And it's more of their Japanese style. Like you mentioned before with the face paint changes, they did change their paint from Japan to US a lot, from WCW to WWF a lot. And I think this is one of the cooler, I guess, starts to their updated video game career, I could say.
I mean, they're in this legendary series of games now that has just, stood the test of time between the VPW and then all the way through to No Mercy. Like, they are in this insanely, like, revered line of games. So it's awesome that they're in, like, this official release.
It's cool too. I mean, there's not many WCW games coming out at this time. I mean, there's Main Event in between. There's Super Brawl in between, which we've shared our hate for many times on this podcast. I mean, after European Rampage Tour, you're only getting like Super WrestleMania, Steel Cage Challenge, Royal Rumble, all those types of games, and then nothing sustainable until WrestleMania, the arcade game. That's why it's taking a while. 97, you're getting the Road Warriors back on the N64 here.
But you want to talk about a gap. I mean, we're going, let's see, 92 to 97, and then you're going 97 to 01.
Yeah, and
now we're hitting big gaps or bigger gaps, and then all of a sudden everything changes. So in 01, you get Legends of Wrestling for the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox, and again, game we've played before. This appearance is not the best.
We've talked about this game in detail in great lengths, and it's just not the best looking game. I get what they were going for. It's kind of what, like, say All Stars, or say what the AEW game's kind of going for, where they're the wrestlers, but there's something just different, like cartoony, playful about them, I guess. They look like action figures. They're over the top. Like, they were not this big. They were big. They were not this big, not this top heavy. I think everyone in this game looked pretty much the same body-wise, unless you're Gorilla Monsoon. And I don't know. I mean, likeness-wise, it's them. It's their faces. It's their paint. But I think there's like a lack of detail with even the gear they wore, the armor, whatever you want to call it, the Road Warrior shoulder pads. They're just plain.
I'm just thinking about something. So we joked earlier that we're not covering Heidenreich or Sonny. Obviously, we have to throw Paul Ellering into that as well.
Right.
But is there? I don't think there's not a game where you get the Legion of Doom with Paul Ellering.
Is he in the Legends of Wrestling games?
I'm saying, maybe he is, or maybe he's in Legends of Wrestling 2.
Let's check right now. Paul Ellering, Legends of Wrestling.
And you definitely don't get Rocco in any of the games. I'm pretty sure Rocco never makes an appearance, but that's probably for the best.
Legends of Wrestling, Rosh. I don't remember hearing his name, but honestly, these games are so flooded that who knows? No, you're not in Legends of Wrestling 1. Let's check. 2. Legends of Wrestling 2. The name Paul Orndorff. And
no, I don't think there's actually a full-on video game appearance where you get Legion of Doom coming out with Paul Ellering.
No,
I don't think that, which is crazy.
And correct us if we're wrong, because we would love to know.
Yeah, I would. I don't think, at least in the games, and we've played most of the games that they've appeared in, and I don't think that we've seen them in any game like that, which is, again, strange.
He didn't really come back also until a few years ago on NXT. So
that's true.
I don't know.
Yeah, wanted to bring it up because obviously we joked about Sonny and Heidenreich, and I would feel like we would be doing a disservice if we didn't mention Paul Ellering as well.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe they snuck him into a crowd shot in like WrestleFest or something. But now we're going to Legends of Wrestling 2, also for the Game Boy Advance, PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. This is a 1 year later in November of 2002, where they look pretty much identical to the first game, just upgraded because it's now, the second game. You're going to get a better looking game. I think they're generally the same wrestlers, the same gear they're wearing. They didn't do
textures are a little bit more updated in terms of like the muscle definition. They're not just like a flesh colored like skin model.
They did a lot to
like muscle definition.
They upgraded pretty much the whole roster, but also kept them the same at the same time, which is probably why this game series was pretty much a flop.
Well, then they transfer later. They were like, we want to do this again, but better, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Right, but there's a game in between the next year because they make their return to WWE, WWF video games on the PlayStation 2 because in October of 2003, they are featured in, if not one of the greatest wrestling games in history or the best one ever, SmackDown.
On the list. Here
Comes the Pain.
Unreal. The likeness is insane, considering that this is 2003. The detail that you get in the shoulder pads and the
this is what we were
trunks,
missing.
Every
shoulder pad detail. Like, look how nice that looks compared to, like, go back and look at the Legends of Wrestling one.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same capabilities. It's the PlayStation 2. Like, what? I don't know.
You get shoulder pads in WrestleFest, and then there's really no true entrance until Legends of Wrestling. Like, you have the VPW entrance, but that's really like they're already in the ring, and it's kind of like fighting out of this corner kind of situation. It's not like full entrance.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
Man, what a jump from Legends of Wrestling to Here Comes the Pain.
Well, that just goes to show you it's like a random Acclaim game versus a THQ game. Which, if you think about it, Legends of Wrestling, all those Acclaim games, Acclaim might be one of their more popular developers here.
That's very true.
But I think in Here Comes the Pain, they're featured. I remember some articles showing them, like it was kind of like exciting, like they're back here in WWE games. And this is before, I'll say, the Heidenreich run happened. So this is before they're back in the limelight. But we now go back to the Legends of Wrestling series. This is what George was talking about, how they say, you know what, we need to up something. We need to compete with the big dogs, with the SmackDowns. We need to make our game stand out. And they came out with Showdown at Legends of Wrestling. We covered with Max Smashmaster in the archives. Yep. They really tried with this game. Like you said, New York Arena. It's not the real MSG.
Better than the other two. This depiction of them is significantly better.
But they're still just like beef sticks.
Yeah, but I mean, okay. I will give them the benefit of the doubt with this because it's not like it's just the Road Warriors. Everyone is like over the top. Like Hulk Hogan's model is like 2 buses wide in this game.
And
like,
Sting's is like the same.
Yeah.
And Jake the Snake and
everyone is jacked. Everyone is over the top. Everyone is like LJN body.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Yeah. Okay.
And the graphics of the first Legends of Wrestling, they actually have the same amount of detail as an LJN. So,
wow. Okay, I agree. Just a really big jump in only a few years to Showdown Legends of Wrestling with the way that they look. I mean, they must have even gotten Trace on board because they got actual Trace knee pads, which if you're inside baseball here with wrestling, that's a very popular brand that almost every wrestler used at one point.
What's the other big brand? AMA?
Yes. AMA is the High Spots brand. But I use Trace. Traces are great, and they're in this game. It's just like they finally put the attention to detail. I just think it was a little too late here. But
yeah, I agree with that. Actually, that's a very good explanation of the Legends of Wrestling series as a whole. Good concept, but you came to the party a little too late.
Yeah, and they were competing with the big dogs here.
Yeah.
But speaking of the big dogs, not Roman Reigns.
Nope. Not
WWE
yet.
SmackDown.
Breakdown's coming in like 2035.
We almost have enough content already. SmackDown versus Raw for the PlayStation 2 in November of 2004. They look great. This is just an upgrade of their Here Comes the Pain models.
Yeah.
Same paint pretty much. But like you mentioned, new face paint right there.
Now we got yellow
new face paint right there. Yeah, I like it. Hawks just always kind of stayed the same. I mean, you could look at our little icons above that I made of our logo. It was hard to pick which one I wanted an animal to look like.
Well, so like you mentioned before, like in the New Japan or in the Japan run that they had, like it's not even so much that the style or the design of Hawk's face paint stayed the same. It was just different colors. No, in the Japan run, the whole face paint is different.
His whole gear, really.
Yeah, everything is so vastly different when he's in the States versus when he's overseas, and it's crazy to think that, like, I mean, Road Warriors, people like Goldust, like the Sting, like the amount of artistic and creative talent that you have to just be like, all right, I'm going to sit and come up with this complete new design. You know what? You know who else I'm going to throw into that ring? Aaron Rourke.
Okay.
Super crazy.
I thought you were going to say Finn Balor, but okay.
All right, Finn Balor too. Well, Finn Balor isn't face paint. Finn Balor is like full body, like airbrushing, like 16 hours worth of airbrushing. But like, it's crazy to think like the amount of like artistic and creative talent that has to go into reinventing your face paint.
Yeah, and Aaron does it himself. I've seen him do it.
And
pretty crazy.
Like an underappreciated art in the world of wrestling, I feel like.
So I also feel like you were mentioning, his New Japan stuff looks different. I feel like WWF like that one look. They don't like veering off too much because they got to sell merchandise. They want that recognition.
The branding is got to be on point.
Even Sting, he kind of wore the same stuff throughout his WWE run. Now he's having a little more fun with it, with the CM Punk fits and all that.
Do you have a favorite face paint, Sting? Joker Sting?
Unpopular opinion, I hated Joker Sting.
I actually, is Joker Sting like super popular?
People love him. Yeah.
Really?
I like the gimmick. I just hated the face paint. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of the TNA paint that he kind of like does now, like the classic with like
the
a little
red.
bit of red. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
This isn't the history of Sting though.
I know,
So
but
we got to move on here.
I mean, we're talking about face paint. Your guy's Sting. It was relevant.
So we got a big gap here again because now we're moving on to 2009. Now in between here, 2006, you're getting SmackDown vs. Raw. What would come out then? 2007, right? They're a year behind.
Yeah, you're behind every year, like all the other sports franchises.
I want to look something up quick. I want to see the full roster here
Okay.
because this is around the time that Animal. See, Animal is not in this game.
No.
Okay, I'm going to go back to 2000. No, see, Heidenreich is in this game.
As Legion of Doom?
No, as Heidenreich, but how long was his WWE run? It wasn't that long.
It was not that long.
So for him and Animal to tag team, and then you're not getting him in the game, but you're getting Heidenreich in a game. It's kind of weird, but they're back in 2009 on the Xbox 360 now and the PS3 for WWE Legends of WrestleMania.
Pretty much just the WWE and THQ going, hey, Acclaim. Yeah, we can do this better, and they kind of really stick it to the Legends of Wrestling line because it's already on a well-established, well-received, well-known engine.
It's also many years later.
Yeah, and the graphics are great, and I'm just like, yeah, it's.
I'm looking forward to actually playing this game one day because I have very minimal time playing it.
Well, maybe that's coming down the pipeline soon.
Yeah, but you could see with the Road Warriors, there's a lot of gaps here because we're skipping a few years again because we're going to WWE All-Stars now, which came across the board of every console you could imagine, even the 3DS on March 29, 2011. It's the Road Warriors. I mean, there's not much else to say. It looks like them.
Yeah. Again, cartoonic.
Yeah.
Cartoonish, over dramatized.
We've moved away
version.
from LJNs to Hasbro's now.
Yes.
So, yeah, what do you say? Dramatized? Over dramatized? There we go. John could speak today. And, yeah, they look good. That's all we could really say here for All-Stars. For literally the whole roster, they look good. It's a game. That's definitely a game. We played this in the archives. Go check it out with Matt Cardone and Brian Myers right after they were released. George called them Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. Yeah. And Smart Mark was there too, I think, in some capacity.
Yeah. He laughs in the background as I mess up.
Yeah. But we now go to some of the... I would say... This is the transition into the 2K series, these games here coming up.
Yeah, and we're approaching what may be my favorite.
Yes, I know. But WWE 12 comes out for the 360, PS3, and the Wii on November 22nd, 2011. Everybody knows this game. This is when they transitioned from the SmackDown vs. Raw titles, and they started going, you know what, maybe we should be like the sports games and just put a 12 after it. And THQ changed their logo up, which threw everybody off. But you got
that happens at All-Stars.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I can see that now. Yeah, well, that doesn't count. Randy Orton looking great on the cover, but you get the Road Warriors once again in here. They're going to stay the same now. You saw it in our Bret Hart. Yeah. You saw it in our Undertaker history episodes. There's going to be a time where they're kind of just stagnant because you're still on the same consoles until you get up to the next ones where they're going to look fairly the same. But now in 12, you're getting... some WCW Nitro rings, so you could play as WCW Road Warriors. And I think they look pretty cool. Their likeness is great. THQ really didn't miss back then.
Yeah, I was going to say, the details are exactly what you expect. It's in line with everything else. They put the same love and attention into all the character models. It's not like, well, these aren't, they're legends, so maybe they don't get as much love as like maybe Randy Orton, who's like, no, everyone in this game got the same amount of detail, and then we jump a year, and speaking of detail, we get WWE WrestleFest for the iOS. in February of 2020.
Also in our archives, one of the weirder mobile games we played, because while they really wanted this to be like the original WrestleFest, it's just not. It's just not. And I think playing it on an iPad was way better than playing it on a phone, just because it's a lot going on a tiny screen, especially in 2012. But I get it. I like the callback, bringing the Road Warriors back, because we see that even now, that this type of game, you need the Road Warriors. They're the classics. When you think WrestleFest, you think Road Warriors and you think like Hogan. That's the game.
So here's what I've learned as a kid.
Was a kid.
I don't know if maybe this is something that you. I'm just brushing over the Sum 41 reference. I don't know if maybe this is something that you have noticed, or maybe you have always been like this. As a kid, loved to watch the Road Warriors when they had matches. Loved watching Legion of Doom. Loved the entrance. Everything about them was so awesome.
They just hit hard.
As an adult, though, I appreciate more, and this is for them and for a lot of other tag teams. I just appreciate and like tag team wrestling so much more. Like when you really look back and think of like the psychology that went into it, and like how there's so much like to manage and stuff.
Yeah.
In terms of like,
and they just beat the shit out of you.
Well, yeah, but like you did tag team stuff. You continue to do tag team stuff like that. It's just, do you find yourself having a more appreciation of like the legend tag matches now that you're a little bit more?
Oh yeah, I keep watching the Steiners. They're just so fun to watch, because they just, like, the Road Warriors beat the shit out of everyone, and they just hit hard. It's just really cool to watch, and I just have to agree. I hit a Doomsday device 2 weeks ago.
Huge
leading
pop.
up to this episode, just for
Huge
this.
Pop.
I say pop. I hit it, but I was the bottom guy. But all right, now, same year, 2012.
This may be my number one.
This is Georgie's favorite game. I've mentioned how I went and picked this game up during Hurricane Sandy when the roof was falling off of Best Buy, but I still had power, so I went and got it. WWE 13 comes out for the 360, PS3, and the Wii. Oh, look, George just has it right there. He still got it. CM Punk on the cover. This... Wait a minute, George. Wait a minute. I'm just noticing something here. Wait a minute. This is a 2K game.
Yeah.
I've never noticed that before, because it is still published by THQ.
It's the 2K engine. This is like the beginning of that. Wait.
What does yours say?
Mine says THQ.
So I'm reading here that THQ was 2012, 2K was 2013.
What cover is that you have in the notes?
Apparently 2013. Wait.
This on the back cover it says www.thq.com. Ukes Havoc WWE THQ.
I'm very confused right now.
Maybe the cover you have is not
no. It's in Wikipedia. It's also in the 2K support forums. There's a WWE 13 section.
Let's see if there's anything in the manual.
There are many covers here on eBay that say 2K.
Do I have a fake version, maybe?
No, because it had to have come out for 2K first.
Well, wait, did this... No, I guess that wouldn't make sense either. I was going to say... What is happening on my...
What is happening, George? You okay? Okay, so I'm in this page right now. Professional wrestling game developed by Ukes, published by THQ, later replaced by 2K Sports. Why have we not noticed this before?
I guess in my head, I've always just thought that this was a full-on THQ game.
This is all over as a 2K game as well. There's two different. So the transition must have happened during this.
I am so very confused.
Okay, wait. A new era begins. This is from January 2013. The era of THQ Wrestling is over. Sources have indicated to IGN that the WWE game franchise will be sold to Take-Two, parent company of 2K. Terms of the sale are unknown, blah, blah, blah. The news comes as THQ assets have been divided among several different publishers pending court approval. Okay. So this is when they're on their way out.
Yeah.
These negotiations appear to have taken place outside THQ's formal auction process. Okay, so they took over the game halfway through. That makes sense now. I feel like we've covered this before and we were just as shocked, but regardless, now we know. So technically, yeah, this is the first 2K game. So we've mentioned before, like, where does 2K end? Where does 2K start? I guess this is like the blurred line.
Yeah.
But that's pretty crazy because technically this is now the only 2K game that the Road Warriors are featured in.
Yeah. I just love the depiction here. I think it's so great, and it's just, I mean...
They changed them up too.
Yeah, and like I that's not even because I like this game so much. It's just a different appearance for them, and it's, I don't know, maybe that's why it stands out for me.
Yeah, they kind of gave him the reverse colors, little bit different face paint, different entrance gear. It's pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. But that's pretty much the last we're going to see of the Road Warriors in 2012. I know there was a bunch of issues that they had to work out. But now, February 26th, 2021, the latest game the Road Warriors are featured in, Retro Mania Wrestling. Go back in our archives. Listen to Mike Herman's interview. He talks about dealing with Animal in great lengths. It really is unfortunate that Animal passed around this time, and
Yeah.
we lost both Road Warriors now. I'm not sure what that means exactly for their video game appearances in the future. I know Animal owned both IPs, and he was very picky with what he distributed to. You know, he used Pro Wrestling Tees. There are some Road Warrior shirts popping up on like Homage and stuff that WWE is putting out, so I don't really know what the deal is, if there's going to be any sort of Legends deal coming, but that would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, just for everything, like figures and the opportunities for them to be in games, like it's, there's no such thing as too much Legion of Doom in the world of wrestling.
Yeah, no, you need them, and I'm so glad Retromania picked them up because I've been playing this game a lot lately, and it hits. It's such a good game for the PC, Xbox One, PS4, and Switch. It took a while to roll out. It took a while to roll out on all the consoles. They're still rolling out the DLC, but they have made such an incredible amount of upgrades to this game since its release that it plays so nicely. We're still waiting for part 2 of that story mode. I enjoyed part 1 a lot. They take a lot of the aspects from WrestleFest. They put them in this new game. Mike Herman and his team did such a good job.
Go listen to that interview that we have with him.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool, kind of poetic. You're getting their main feature of WrestleFest, and then later, many years later, like 30 years later almost, I'm not going to do that math right now. You can while I'm talking if you feel like it. They are back, and they are in this game. Now, George, I want you to scroll down past this other stuff I put in here right now.
The comparison?
I want to compare the two because WrestleFest, they're he's doing the thing. He's expanding.
I'm doing a thing where I blow up the image in our notes, and then John gets mad because I touch the image while he's looking at it and talking about it.
Yeah, it sucks.
Zoom and enhance, John. Zoom and enhance.
Now, WrestleFest, I think the best view you're getting of them is that entrance shot because it's straight on. You can see all the detail. I think it's very well detailed. It looks just like them. But just like you said, this might be maybe an IP issue, maybe like a WWF, WWE issue. Not even an issue per se, but Retromania, you're getting way different face paint for Hawk and Animal. It's got the green in it. It looks different. It's not their classic look.
Are they the Legion of Doom in Retromania, or are they the Road Warriors?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let's check that out.
I think that might be the case. I think it's because they're Road Warriors, so it's more of the indie pre-WWE and Japan run face paint.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, it's the Road Warriors. So, yeah, that was Legion of Doom face paint, which is always like a blurred history of which is which.
Because their whole thing is, Road Warriors is all Mad Max based. So the face paint depiction for the Road Warriors is way more Mad Max, apocalyptic than I would say that the Legion of Doom.
But WrestleFest, they were Legion of Doom.
Yes.
Because there's that classic Mean Gene interview that when you're playing through the challenge mode where he's interviewing them, they're calling you out. It's so cool. And you get some of that in here as well. So kudos to Retromania.
Danger.
Yeah. Kudos to them because they look so cool in Retromania. It's it's an upgraded version. They don't look exactly like those those LJNs as they did back then. It's a little different, but the same.
Yeah.
Gotta love it. But all right, it's time for the honorable mention section because we're done with the actual releases of the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors in video games, because now you're getting like the Fire Pro Wrestling. There's always going to be a Road Warrior lookalike, or I don't want to say rip-off, but rip-off. You're always going to get someone that looks like them.
Tribute's good.
Yeah, we'll say tribute. Sometimes they do both. Sometimes they do just one. It's usually Hawk, I would say. And like Matt Mania, for instance, Insane Warrior is pretty much Animal. And he looks exactly like him. Looks a little bit Power Warrior-ish too. But we're going to see this from time to time. Now, there's also the unreleased game UWC, the prototype, the WCW game for the NES in '89, which would have been one of their first releases. But
available in the archives?
Available in the archives. This game never came out, so it's got to be in this section. It's not an official release. They look interesting.
I would say the depiction of most of the wrestlers in this game I would describe as interesting.
Yeah. But I don't know.
I don't think accuracy was the number one
No, the refs wearing pink shoes.
Listen, you don't know the legendary referee?
Pink shoes.
Pink shoes?
Yeah. I do know. Did you know? Did you know Superstar Pro Wrestling is the Japanese port to 1989's WCW World Championship Wrestling? Hawk and Animal are the only wrestlers in the game to appear as themselves and have a Japanese counterpart.
I don't want to read this one. Did you know Road Warrior Hawk appears in the WCW vs. the World as the fictional wrestler Overdose?
Did you know the Road Warriors have been on the cover of only WCW World Championship Wrestling, Legends of Wrestling, and Retromania Wrestling? So, I mean, that's pretty much the history of the Road Warriors in video games. They've been in WCW, they've been in the indie games, they've been in the WWF, WWE games, and all of our favorite franchises, from Legends to the SmackDown vs. Raw to the 2K to whatever. They've been on it all, to NES. They're across the board. This is why we wanted to cover this, because as we were doing these episodes, we noticed their names just kept popping up, even the fake ones. So we had to compare and contrast and see which ones. So here's the big question. What is your favorite version of the Road Warriors?
I know that I said it's the WWE 13 version, but man, it's hard not to immediately just go, WrestleFest or Retromania, or I mean, it's pretty much anything but Legends of Wrestling, really. Like it really, like that's like if it's not WWE WrestleFest or any of the Legends games, I'm okay with it, really. There's not one.
Pick one. You have to pick one. Come on.
All right, I'm going WWE 13.
I like it. And
because I have a feeling I know what you're going.
I actually changed mine. I was going to say Retromania in the beginning, but after doing all this, I'm going to go WWF Super WrestleMania.
I mean, that was going to be my second pick because I have talked till I blew in the face about how much I love that whole series of games. So
it's just the game that started my love for wrestling and wrestling video games. So I have to go with it, and they just look just like them.
Yeah, pixel perfect, baby.
Yeah, they look like little miniature thems. So
Yeah.
but all right. So we've done The Undertaker, we've done Bret Hart, and now we've done the Road Warriors.
Yep.
And these are special episodes. We have one more that we want to present to you
We
guys.
have a lot more. But
We have a lot more,
We're
but-
going to talk about what's next.
What's next? When we hit 1,000 follows on Twitter, we are currently up to 805.
Oh,
I'm
so
sorry.
this is going to happen soon.
765. We are going to cover the video game history and career of Mick Foley.
Bang, bang.
Now, you're thinking, it's only WWF games. This might not be a lot. But there's 3 or 4 faces in each.
Yeah.
And we're going to compare, we're going to contrast, and we're going to do the deep dive on Mick Foley. So follow us on Twitter. We are going to now promote this till we're blue in the face, and we are going to get the history of Mick Foley going.
I am very excited for this episode. We actually may even have a special little video surprise at the beginning of that episode. So if you want to see what that is, and you want to pretty much exactly what we just sat here and did for the last hour, and you want to hear that about Mick Foley and all of the faces of Foley. I mean, because he's not just in games as Mankind, Cactus Jack, or Dude Love. There's a few appearances of Mick Foley himself in video games. So we're going to cover all of that. Very excited about this. But, John, now that we have fully covered everything about the Road Warriors, there's only one thing to do.
What is that, George?
And that is to thank everyone for watching the video version of this video game history of the Road Warriors. And now we're going to go back to our regular format for the rest of the episode. So if you're only here for the Legions of Doom breakdown, thank you.
Hey, subscribe on Patreon. You can get the full episode in video form.
There you go. Make sure to go and listen to this podcast wherever you choose to listen. And now we're going to hard cut into us back into the regular episode. All right, so it is now time for us to do our, I don't know, I love this. This was like an ever-evolving segment that we had here, and now I think we're finally in a good place. It was the question of the week. It was the mark-out moment. It had so many different names, but now it's kind of all of those things rolled into one. It's now time for Softlock.
Final round. Fight!
All right, so Softlock is a segment where a Megamark proposes a topic to me and John, and we debate, talk about, discuss that topic for 5 to 10 minutes, and then we like to pass on that question to you as well. John, what do we got this week?
All right, Megamark Tecker says, should WWE go back to having multiple console exclusives or keep a single publisher across multiple platforms? This is something we have talked about for years. This was definitely a question of the week at one point.
Yep.
I feel like we're past that point. I know that the consoles now kind of have the same capabilities, and now we're getting cross-platform. I mean, they're not going to go back to it. Would I want them to? Yeah, there was not a better year than when we had Day of Reckoning, SmackDown versus Raw, and WrestleMania, or whatever, Raw 2 on the Xbox. You picked and chose. I mean, you wanted the other one, which made you go get that console. There's just, I don't know, it's all the same now. We're never going to see it again. Well, I can't say never, but I don't think we're ever going to see it again. But I
it's
would like
not
to.
a question of do you think, it's should.
Should. There's no point. No, there's no point.
See, I have an idea here.
Oh, here we go.
So
I'll time you.
Well, fuck you. So you don't have one. You've talked about and teased that you were going to look into getting one.
A Wonder Swan?
No, the Switch.
Oh, okay.
So, do you know what the last WWE game to be released on the Switch was?
I don't, but I'm also going to say the Switch is just a completely different console, and it would be the one that makes sense.
That's what I was going to say. So they haven't released a full-fledged WWE game on the Switch for quite some time. The last release was Battlegrounds,
suck.
and then before then, I couldn't tell you. But what if that's the trade-off? What if it's not full? What if I say this term very lightly, the bigger consoles, the major consoles, and I mean that as like the PlayStation, Xbox, PC, get the yearly or, however you want to say it, semi-annual, whatever, releases of, 2K20 and so. And
2K18 was on the Switch.
Okay. So what if we get the Retromania WrestleFest style games, Battleground style games, the more arcadey, cartoonish, over-exaggerated games on the Switch?
I think that's what the Switch is made for, and that would be perfect.
So maybe there's a logic to that in the sense of like not necessarily console exclusives in the sense of like you're getting full-on releases where you have, like you said, Day of Reckoning, SmackDown vs. Raw, whatever else console had for Xbox that year. But you have the exaggerated games on the Switch because of the weird rules that Nintendo has, because I'm pretty sure that 2K18 is kind of dumbed down.
Oh yeah,
on because of the rules that you have to abide by in terms of like gore and violence and
even the characters just look terrible.
Oh yeah, well no, I'm just saying in terms of like the content that they have in the game. But what if that was the style that they did?
Yeah, I think that's good, but I don't see them not putting it out for everything, because why not? Yeah,
I don't see it ever happening just because money. But
should they? Yes, I think that would be cool.
Yeah, it makes the console wars kind of interesting and maybe makes.
I wouldn't have been upset if Battlegrounds only came out on the Switch, because then I wouldn't have had to buy it and it wouldn't just be wasted away on my hard drive.
Same.
Yeah. But all right, good soft lock question. We look forward to next week's, but are you ready for some gaming news?
Let's do it.
All right, your gaming news. So there's been a Easter egg found in GTA 5. It's pretty cool. So when you go to the Opium Knights Hotel and it's nighttime, you have to look through a specific window and you could actually see the Liberty City skyline. Now, Liberty City was GTA 4, GTA 3. It's nice. It's pretty cool. It's nice little callback to the old school, because GTA 5 is technically like California, not New York City. It's Los Santos. Now, Activision's Alex Summers said on a stream that Verdansk will be coming back, but it won't be coming back until next year to Call of Duty.
Damn.
And that's probably when I will play the game again, because I haven't touched it in months. I was a fan of Caldera, and that was it. I don't know.
So I have to imagine...
Got old quick.
I have to imagine that Verdansk coming back has some kind of tie-in with the...
Modern Warfare 2?
Modern Warfare 2 remake.
Yeah, that would be cool. I know since the acquisition, it seems like the Call of Duty series is like in shambles, but I don't know.
Who would have thought that Rebirth would have been the number one game mode in Call
and
of Duty?
I hate Rebirth. But now, speaking of dead games, Fortnite's Marvel package titled Fortnite X Marvel Zero War is coming, and it's going to feature a new Spider-Man outfit, a new Iron Man wrap, a new Wolverine pickaxe, a new Zero War spray, and a new Zero War loading screen. I forgot loading screens were like a thing in that game that you had to set
Yeah.
I always just set it to random, so it was
Yeah, me
different
too.
every time. Yeah.
I still think that we should try zero build. I think you would enjoy the game a lot more.
I got to reinstall then. I deleted it.
Reinstall it, and maybe that's OMG.
Yeah, I'll be. Yeah, no. All right, but games releasing this week. It's actually quite a bit. We got Dune Spice Wars for the PC. We got the Serpent Rogue for across the board there. MLB The Show is coming to the Switch on the 27th. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe is coming on April 27th. Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt. Warzone Season 3 for the PC, PS4, and Xbox rolling out on the 27th. We also said that the WWE 2K22 DLC is coming out on the 26th, so keep that in mind. Bugsnax for the Switch, Xbox. I have no idea what this is on April 28th, but also Bugsnax Isle of Biznax update. Okay. Kaiju Wars for the PC. Capital Sparks of Revolution for the PC, Trigon Space Story for the PC, Nintendo Switch Sports, April 29th. Make sure you pre-order, get your metal water bottle. Ravenous Devils on April 29th, and Sea of Craft for the PC also on April 29th. So it's a hefty week.
I am
You getting anything on here?
unreasonably excited for Nintendo Switch.
All right,
Sports.
there you go.
It's a good like friends come over, have a couple drinks, play a video game that makes you laugh hysterically. Like it's like that. That's what like Wii Sports was for me, and I have a feeling Nintendo Switch is going to be.
I just hope it's fun and not like a workout simulator. Like did this many calories. It's like, no, I just want to play a game.
They had like an open demo beta access thing a couple months ago, and I got to play a couple of games. It's pretty much just they took Wii Sports and then added some other stuff and made online play.
That's cool.
So you can be as
is golf in it?
It will be. It's not coming out at launch. I think it's coming in a later patch.
Golf was fun. I liked golf, bowling, and tennis. I think the best.
Yeah. So they have golf, or they have tennis, bowling, badminton, volleyball.
I was a badminton champ in college.
Chumbara, which is like sword fighting.
Yes.
And then they'll have golf and something else coming in like a patch like a couple months later.
All right, cool. Maybe that'll make me get a Switch, but probably not.
There you go. Probably not, though.
All right. What else we got here?
All right. YouTube.com/GameMarksPodcast for our weekly playthrough videos, exclusive content, and more like this. Like this video that we just did for the breakdown and the history of the Legion of Doom. That's on the YouTube channel, including playthroughs this week's and every other week's game. John, Patreon, baby. What do we got?
All right, you're getting the ad-free show on Monday, and you're getting the video version as well, the full show. And we are uploading last night's pay-per-view event, GMP High Stakes, where we're going to see who the champion is. Okay, quiet.
That's what. It's kind of even now.
Hey, remember that line you said to me before? Yeah. Tuesday.
What was it? Refresh my memory.
Nope. Tuesday, you're getting the show notes on Patreon. You're getting Game Over, where we play Feel the Bang, the No Mercy mod. One last time. We did all the challenges. We're done. Now, Wednesday, Future Endeavored. Last week, we did a little joint play. We did All-Star Pro Wrestling. I guess that counts for my week since you did you didn't do it the week before. We did a little joint play.
I still like the idea of when I'm playing the game one week and you're playing it right like the next week, that we should just do joint
defeats
episodes.
the whole purpose of the show. But then the following week, you're playing ECW Hardcore Revolution. That's this Wednesday.
That's this week, yeah.
All right, and then May 22nd. I wrote May 22nd in the notes because I replaced May 22nd. Ladder Wars GMP 64, our full ladder match pay-per-view event coming to the Twitch.
Unreal.
And
check the longest pay-per-view in the history of GMP 64 because ladder matches take forever.
Now, if you want to catch up on GMP 64, head on over to Patreon. The whole archive is going to be in there this year, last year. Season 1's all available on YouTube. And check out the Wiltzer report on GameMarksPod.com, which this week's is dropping soon, where it gives a full rundown, a full star rating of the entire show. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool, man.
Pretty damn cool, man.
Now, what are we
Now
playing? Next week
You're going to have to get a little Guido phrase now that he's going to be your new tag partner.
I already said the gabagool.
All right.
But all right. Tell us what we're playing next week, because we're going back to playing a game.
John, when we play these games, when we decide these games, it is a Mega Mark vote in our Patreon. And for the first time since we started doing this, it was a tie. So I am making the decision that we are going in chronological order. So next week on the podcast, we are playing WWF Warzone for the Game Boy. And I don't know how to feel about it. I want to be excited, but also Game Boy and Warzone.
You know what?
Give me one more sigh.
Maybe it won't be as bad as we think.
Remember. I'm going with remember.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll prepare that. Take us home.
All right, GameMarksPod.com/shop for all of our exclusive merchandise. ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod for all of the new shirt designs.
Oh, I'm looking at Warzone screenshots.
And Patreon.com/GameMarksPod for all of the exclusive content like show notes, exclusive shows, and more. At GameMarksPod on all forms of social media. Make sure to smack that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and leave us a 5-star review and a rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you have a product or service that you'd like to advertise on this podcast, please reach out to us at GameMarksPod@gmail.com. We did it. We did the damn thing. The history of the Road Warriors is done, John. And there's only one thing left for you to do, and that is to point at that sign. Game over, Marks. That's the best one you've done. The best one.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no game shard. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.